Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is advice to new medical coders getting out there, looking for their jobs, and talking about how to punch up their transferable skills. And what is this about Practicode, and how do you get experience if no one will hire you? Are there internship, externship opportunities out there? So I got a couple of really good emails this week about that, and I'm going to read them and then I'm going to talk about them. So thank you to those who sent in their emails, and let us begin. So if you are brand new medical coder, hopefully this advice will help you today. All right, so first one is, what do you think are the top skills a new medical coder can bring to the job? I start my first medical coding job next month, and I would appreciate any advice you can give. The second one is, I currently hold my CBCS certification, that is a Certified Billing and Coding Specialist, and that is a certificate offered with the NHA. And I'm currently enrolled in the CPC program, that is the Certified Professional Coder, and that is offered with the American Academy of Professional Coders. But with coding, finding employment after certification seems to be more and more difficult due to lack of physical experience. What would you suggest doing to sort of facilitate experience? Or what kind of related entry-level jobs could someone take to gain experience that employers are looking for? For example, I know that the AAPC has a program that would allow you to practice coding 600 real redacted medical records. Would you suggest participating in something like that? Or are there other extern/intern opportunities for someone that just became certified? So I will start off by saying this: if you are just certified, you have to apply everywhere, regardless of whether they're asking for experience or not. I've said it in many of my videos. That is how a lot of us get our start in the industry, is by applying everywhere, regardless of whether they're asking for experience or not. Because if you wait around for a job posting to say, this is an entry-level position for a brand new medical coder, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. A lot of employers will ask for the coder to have experience because they don't want to have to sit there and train somebody, and they don't want to have to take the time. And a lot of times people are going through these really fast medical coding programs that are not preparing the students for the real world. And so if you get caught up in that, it's important that you do a lot of self-study on your own. It is possible to learn medical coding on your own. For the most part, I did learn it by myself because I was sat in front of a computer and said, here, learn. And I didn't have that instruction, teaching and things like that. It was a lot of just reading and going through the motions. And there was no YouTube. There was not coders on YouTube before when I was in school that I knew of. So because of that, it was a lot of just reading from the book. And I'm a reader as it is, so that helped me. But if you are not a reader, I would really recommend that you try to find yourself a tutor or try to find yourself a mentor with the association. So that way you can get the help that you need. But getting into what I think are the top skills a new medical coder can bring, and you can talk about this when you're in your interviews too. You really have to concentrate on your transferable skills, especially when you don't have experience. Tip number 1, do not mention that you don't have experience. They know that you don't have experience by looking at your resume and looking at your cover letter. They know you don't have experience. And oh yeah, by the way, the resume and cover letter has to be on point. If your resume and cover letter is sorely lacking and it is not on point, and well, Blue, I'm just not a good writer, you need to look up templates. You need to try to find something that can help you. I do not recommend hiring a professional resume writer because, number one, they're very expensive. I do offer resume reviews, and my rates are in the description box below. And what I do in a resume review is, you're the only one who's going to know about your transferable skills and all the skills that you've had. You're the only one who knows this, right? And because of this, you're going to be best suited to write your own resume. Now, my job when I'm doing a resume review is to coach you along and to look at all the skills and everything else that you have listed, and look at the format of your resume and the format of your cover letter, and try to dress it up and really highlight those skills. Now, your transferable skills, If you've been in the medical field before, obviously you know your medical terminology, your anatomy and pathophysiology. That needs to be on your resume. You need to talk about that when you're in the session. If you look at a lot of these job postings for medical coders, they're asking for a lot of the same thing. Must be proficient in medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology. Why is this? Because if you don't understand what you're reading, chances are you're going to select the wrong codes. So even if you're not coming from a background in medical, but you've been through school and you've got your certification, clearly you know medical terminology, anatomy, pathophysiology. Again, it needs to be on there. And again, you need to talk about it when you are in the interview, when you finally do get an interview, because you will get an interview when you are putting yourself out there. Eventually, somebody's going to take a chance on you. But again, you have to highlight all the things that you can transfer over. Are you good under pressure? You need to talk about that. Can you adapt very quickly? You need to talk about that, because adapting very quickly is it is a skill, and you have to be willing to take on challenges. If you're willing to take on challenges, talk about that. Talk about anything that you've taken on that was a challenge that everybody else ran from, but you ran straight to. Because when you do that, it says to that employer, okay, this person is going to want to accept these challenges. Because in the beginning, medical coders, new medical coders will try to go to the most easiest clinics, and they'll sort of gravitate towards the easier stuff. Guys, in the beginning, especially when you're brand new, it is important to look and go for the things that people do not want. Because if you do that, it's going to put you in a good position to say, okay, we'll give them a chance. And if you're nervous about like, well, I don't know if I can. Yes, you can. It's a matter of research. It's a matter of asking the right questions, but doing your research first, so that way you don't unnecessarily ask a lot of questions, right? But talk about those things. Talk about any other things that you're familiar with. Are you familiar with Microsoft Office Suite, right? That's Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Those are things that you can talk about that are transferable. Are you bilingual? If you can speak Spanish, if you can speak and write Spanish, that's really good, because a lot of employers are looking for people who speak Spanish. And again, you can see that by looking in the job postings. You know, there's a lot of them that will ask that. So it's important that you look at the job listing itself and see what specifically they're asking for. And if you have any of those skills, then you need to talk about that. All right. When you were in school, what subject did you like? What was some of your more favorite not clinics? What was some of your more favorite specialties to code for? Talk about that. Talk about the things that you learned, because you learned a lot in school. You just need to be able to verbalize it and put it down on paper as well, and talk about in specifics the things that you did when you were in school. Okay. And as far as like participating in Practicode. So I have heard from some viewers that say that they try to use Practicode as experience on their resume. No go, because Practicode is an educational product. This is not work experience. In order for something to count as work experience, you have to be put under accuracy standards and productivity standards. And Practicode is like I said, an educational product that you have to pay for. And it only is going to take a year off of the 2-year commitment that you need to have in time to remove the A. When you get your brand new CPC, it'll have a -A, and that is for apprentice. And when you're working, they say you have to be working for 2 years, or you have a 2-year commitment to have this A on your name. But you can shorten the time by a year by doing Practicode. Again, there's a fee for Practicode, and so that way you can do that. Practicode is a good educational tool, I will say that. However, if you're out looking for a job, you find a job even with your CPCA, there really is no reason to speed up the process of removing the A, because you already have your job. So unless you plan on going somewhere else, yes, if you spend a year at that employer and you decide to go somewhere else, you're still going to have the A until you have completed that second year. And if you don't do Practicode, it's fine because you still already have experience. Yes, employers will see that you still have your A, but they will also see that you've had experience, and they're more likely to take a chance on you. So that is something to think about. It's really your choice when it comes to whether or not you want to take Practicode or not. Some people say that it's really good practice and it helps them to feel more confident. But there's also workbooks that you can get. You don't necessarily have to go through Practicode. There's lots of really good workbooks out there. I'll try to leave some in the description box below. And they're Amazon affiliate links. You don't have to click on them, but you can look at the title and go and find it somewhere else, wherever you buy your books. But there's always always working through those workbooks. You don't necessarily have to spend hundreds of dollars for a program that's going to do the same thing as a book would. So, and the books have the answers in them as well. So that is something that, and the rationale. So that is something to think about, because it's not going to improve your resume. You can put it down as an educational product, but again, it's not going to improve your chances because you're speeding up the process of getting the A removed, right? So the other one was, what are some of the other like jobs that you can apply for? So I've always said medical billing, prior authorizations. There's working in medical records, because medical records, some coders start their career in medical records and then they move over to coding as needed, right? So there's those positions. There's risk adjustment coding. Now, risk adjustment coding does not involve evaluation and management. It only involves diagnosis coding. However, I will say this. If you are coding for just the diagnoses, then you need to be aware that still practice on your evaluation and management, because when it comes time that you want to move on to another position, you really want to make sure that you're still sharp on evaluation and management. Evaluation and management is not as scary as people try to make it out to be. It really isn't, guys. You just have to have a really good teacher and a really good way of somebody explaining it to you. That's all. But it is really good to stay up on those things. But risk adjustment coding, oftentimes they're asking for the people not even to be certified at all. Okay, and with medical billing, you do not have to be certified to be a medical biller. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm just going to get the credential anyway, and it'll give me a better shot at getting in. Not true, guys. A lot of people will say that, but when it comes down to brass knuckles and you're looking at the job postings for medical billers, they're either asking for experience or they want you to have your high school diploma or a GED. They don't even want you to be certified. So why are you spending money on something that you don't really need? Because at the end of the day, with that billing certification, you're going to have to pay for continuing education units. And I don't know if you guys saw the video that I did a couple of weeks ago about the continuing education units and how many you need once you start trying to rack up all of these credentials, right? You're going to need more continuing education units every single time. And it jumps significantly. And with AAPC, it's already a lot. For one credential, it's like 36 continuing education units you'll need to have within your 2-year time frame to report, right? You have a 2-year cycle. You have to get 36 continuing education units. That's a lot, and that number jumps up the more certifications you have. And so, guys, employers are looking for you to have one credential. Now, I will keep saying this because people are going to keep doing the opposite and they're going to try to rack up all these things. I'm just trying to help you guys. At the end of the day, these employers, they only want one credential. And they say, yeah, we want experience, but it doesn't mean just because you don't have experience that you can't still apply anyway. You still need to apply. I've seen and heard many stories because I'm on LinkedIn as Medical Coding with Bleu if you're interested in following me there as well. And I'm on Instagram if you're on Instagram as well. I post my outfit of the day on Instagram. And I'll post other things about the channel on there as well. But when it comes to like the stories that I've heard on LinkedIn. And some people were very upset. You know, I've been looking for months, I still can't find a job. And I don't know if they finally just listened and started applying everywhere. And then you see them, they say, I finally found a job. I've been looking and looking and looking, but I finally found a job. And some people stop working while they're looking for a job. You can't do that. And that's another thing too, I will say. I worked 2 and 3 jobs when I was looking for a job. And I was working hard labor jobs. You know, I was doing bartending. I was working in a halfway house. And there was a lot of things that I was doing. And I was just so physically tired. I just didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to be a medical coder so bad. But I just kept having to apply. And I finally got in with a temporary agency, which is another way to sort of get your way in there too. There are some temporary agencies out there that specialize in medical professions. And that was a temporary agency that I went through, is that was what they were specialized in. So they hired those temporary medical coders. And that is what I did in order to be able to get in. So that is something to think about when you are out there and applying. Get yourself registered with the temporary agency. And every single time you go on an assignment, it's filler for your resume. And if you're doing an internship or an externship as a part of your school, you need to put that on your resume as well. And if you don't get hands-on experience coding in those internships or externships, and sometimes that's the case, they're having you just shadow people and look at how the process is done and things like that. You need to put that on your resume as well, because it's still giving you some sort of knowledge and background and idea about what the field is like. And that's what employers want to know. How can you sell yourself in a way that is going to show and showcase all of your talents? And so that's what you want to do. But that's my advice, guys. You can't give up when it comes to looking for a job. Don't get discouraged just because you see everybody wants to have experience. Still apply anyway. Get your name out there and make those connections. Apply for risk adjustment, apply for prior authorizations, apply for medical billing, apply for medical records. Do what you need to get into the field. And then you can work your way around and transfer over and things like that. But you got to make sure that your resume and cover letter are sharp. And again, you know, there's other things that you can do to make sure that those resumes are the way they need to be. Because if you don't put any care into your resume or cover letter, you're going to see that in return. Employers are not going to want to deal with it, because a lot of what we do is communicate very well verbally and written. And if you can't do either or, employers are going to be like, okay, next. We need people who can be able to communicate with providers, verbal and written. And you have to be able to do that. And if you're not comfortable yet, it's okay. But at least try hard. At least work hard at that. Work hard at the things that you know you can improve, like your writing skills. You know, so many people I get from all age groups, you know, writing in all kinds of different ways and just writing that is not appropriate. Guys, you got to get better with writing, especially in this field, because you're going to be dealing with people who are extremely intelligent. And they have very little time or very little patience for people who they feel are wasting their time. So I just wanted to set you guys up for success. You know, if you want something, you can go after it. You know, don't be scared of this field. And this part right here, this very delicate part for new medical coders when they're trying to find their first job and they're trying to talk about their own skills and like, well, what do I think of? What do I think of? You've been through a lot in your work history, right? And you have organizational skills, you have team building skills, you know, you have all those things, and you have the ability to complete tasks in a timely manner. But you don't want to sound on your resume, you don't want to sound like everybody else. You need to be able to set yourself apart, and the same thing for your cover letter. If you put on there, oh, I'm on time and I'm a team player, get it off of there. Because if I'm hiring, I'd be like, nope, next. This person's trying to sound like everybody else. I don't want somebody that sounds like everybody else. I want somebody who's telling me genuinely from them, their heart, this is the reason why I want to get into this field. I want to get into being a medical coder because. And not because you want to stay at home, not because you want to do remote coding so you can stay at home with your kids. They don't care about that. These are employers. It's very self-centered employers. And they want to know, what can you do for them? So until you get to that why and talk about that why. I just talked about this the other day. When you talk about the why, people are more likely to connect with you because you're a little bit more genuine. You're really giving and relaying a lot about yourself in this. Just enough for them to be interested in taking a chance on you. My why at the time that I got into the field was I wanted to change my life. There was so much going on in my personal life. I was going through a divorce, and I had a lot of just drive to be able to start again. And that was my start again moment. And I needed to get that because I had invested all this time in studying, and I had passed my certification on the first try. And I was just like, I just want to get in. And that was the why. That was my why. Because I had to start over. And failure was not an option. Failure is literally not an option. And you have to think that about yourself too. And whatever you do, don't give up just because you don't see, oh, we have an entry level. You're never going to find those entry levels. They're going to be very few and far in between. So you apply for everything. And you be confident with your skills. Talk about the fact that you know medical terminology and anatomy and pathophysiology. Because trust me, that is one of the things that a lot of people are lacking on, even for veteran coders. So that is one thing that being brand new can really, that you can bring to the facility, is that you're brand new. You have no coding baggage. You have no bad habits to break. And you're willing and open to try anything and everything. And you don't have any preferences. You just want to work. And so that is something that you can talk about as well. So think about that, guys. And that's a strength. Coming in there and saying that you don't have any coding baggage, that is a strength. Because a lot of times even when veteran coders are hired someplace, if they come from a place where they have a certain thing that they do, and then they go to another place and they don't do that there, it's a lot of things to unteach. And so it's a lot of bad habits to break. And that's something that, happens to veteran coders. But when you're brand new, you don't have any of that. And you're ready. You're a clean slate. And you're ready to just learn. So that's my advice anyway. But yes, if you're out there, best of luck to you. You can do it. Keep applying. Apply. Because you have to apply everywhere. And one final thought. Don't apply to be a secretary or anybody in scheduling, because that's not going to get you anything with medical coding. I'm just saying. I'm going to wrap this one up. Like this, share this if it helped you, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye.